Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 947, we're going to talk about Squee, the Dubious Monarch. But first, we want to give a big shout out to the patrons. Thank you all so much. You make this quest to build every commander deck possible, and our good friends at Dragon Shield. This deck is in matte red, so you can head on over to any friendly local game store. Most of them have Dragon Shields. But let's talk about Squee. Now, we all know Squee is the... could he have been the first one that was actually completed? Well, besides Krovax. Squee has been immortal for a long time. So let's read it. 2/2 haste. When Squee attacks, create a goblin token that's tapped and attacking. You may cast Squee from your graveyard by paying 4 and exiling 4 of the cards from your graveyard rather than paying its mana cost. Now, in previous incarnations, Squee came back a lot easier, a lot quicker, sometimes automatic. But rumor has it that Squee is now on his last life, I guess. Anyway, yeah, what really pushed me toward how to build this deck was that first line. Whenever Squee attacks, create an attacking token. So, goblins it is. Just straight goblins. Now, because we are doing straight goblins, there's not a lot of need for a whole lot of ramp, because let's face it, they're not really expensive. So, I have a soul ramp, a knocked over camera, a mind stone, a fire diamond. That was probably loud too. I do apologize, folks. And then for some card draw, typically red card draw things, Thrill of Possibility, Tormenting Voice, Light Up the Stage, and a Howling Mine. So those are... Now, we get into goblins. I've got the goblins broke up into goblins and things that make goblins. So, before we get any further, let's do the one non-basic land in the deck, the Goblin Burrows. I figure in a monocolor deck, it's worth swapping out for one land. Have I ever used this ability? Once or twice in the existence of the card. So, we have, in no particular order, of course, Goblin Matron. Now, this is good to go find that exact goblin that you need. Goblin Glider cannot block. I don't care because it flies. And once you get to things like Granite Grip, the flying will matter. Skirk Shaman can't be blocked except for artifact creatures and/or red creatures. So this was before Maness was keyworded, obviously. Not Maness. It used to be Fear when it was black, but then it was... You know what I'm talking about. It's Red Fear. Mog Fanatic. Not as powerful as it once was, but still good. Goblin Surgeon. Now, this is a card a lot of goblin decks, I think, overlook. Sack a goblin to regenerate a target creature. Now, as long as you can target the creature, you're probably going to have disposable goblins. A lot of days now, board wipes don't have the can't be regenerated clause. Yeah, Wrath and Damnation does, but most of them don't. The ones that are being printed currently, so the ones that are out there in circulation heavy. And this is a good political move to sack a goblin to regenerate an ally, or to make an ally. I'll save your creature if you'll, take care of this thing that's killing me. Yeah, I like the Surgeon, and I love the spelling. Goblin Spelunkers. Now, yes, it innately has Mountain Walk. I should have, Valakut. I know that. I don't know why that popped in my head, but Gutter Snipe. We have a few instant sorceries, but it's a good goblin. It's got to be in there. Of course, our Goblin King for all those. That's what I'm talking about. Blood Moon. you got a Goblin King, you want a Blood Moon. I don't have a Blood Moon, or else this is where it would go. Because giving all your goblins bigger, which is probably doubling your tokens, up to 2/2s, and giving them Mountain Walk is, uh, I mean, it works, but if you can turn non-basics into mountains, it works a lot better. Brash Taunter's just one heck of a blocker. Goblin Ringleader probably could have been in the card advantage category. Frenzied Goblin, Battle Cry Goblin. No, it does not have Battle Cry. What? But it does have Goblin Breathing. Yes, that's 2 mana to fire breathe your Goblin team. And Pack Tactics, if you attack with creatures total 6 or greater, you get a token. Goblin War Chief removes that nasty sickness and makes them cheaper. The Sledder. This is also another good one. How many times have you seen a commander deal 20 damage or somebody be left at 1 life? That's why Goblin Sledder. Volley Veteran. Runbelt Horde Master. Anything that says your team gets +1/+1 is an include. I know I don't have all of them, but they're pretty good. Prospector. Here again, sacking a goblin because a lot of times you've got disposable goblins. Raging Goblin. That's right, I picked the worst art I could find. Nothing against Peter Bellinger's work. He's an amazing artist, but this is my least favorite Raging Goblin. Bloodmark Mentor. First strike. Red creatures that you control have first strike. That's all of them. Yeah. And the Trash Master. Sack a Goblin, destroy an artifact. That's pretty good. Goblin Pile Driver is a beast against blue decks. Goblin Taskmaster. Gut. Yeah, why not? Squee, the auto returning to your hand Squee. Back in the day, we used to use 4 Squees in a mono blue deck to discard the 2 Squees as the buyback for Forbid. The buyback counterspell, you had to discard 2 cards so that the Squeeze would automatically come back to our hand. Yeah, good times. Tarn Mauler, kind of a cheat, but we play a lot of big games here, obviously, and this thing gets big in a hurry. Honorary Goblin. The Goblin Glider, same thing as the other one, but it flies, can't block, don't care. Goblin Diplomats. Each creature attacks this turn. And then Battle Squadron, giant flyer that counts your goblins. Yeah, it counts all your creatures. So let's get into making some goblins, shall we? There's a Krinko. Yes, this is 10th Street Kingpin. The original Krinko don't have in here. Wish I had it, but here again. Just it attacks, it starts making gobos, Beetleback Cheese comes with 2. Mog War Marshal comes with 1. The Instigator comes with 1. Mog Infestation. Now, this thing is another card that, destroy all creatures target player controls. So you pick on one person. Obviously, the one person that would have the greatest effect on, or the one that's killing you. For each creature put into any graveyard this way, you get 2 goblins. You get 2 gobbo tokens for each creature killed. So if you happen to sit across from somebody playing that token deck, that's called payday. Of course, we have Dragon Fodder, Hordling Outburst. Empty the Warrens can randomly do some things. I don't look at this as 4 for 2. I typically look at this as 4 for 4. If I get more than 4 goblins off of this, I consider myself lucky. But generally, that's my experience in a non-storm deck. And then lastly, impact trimmers, because We're going to keep making goblins. We're going to keep dealing damage. That's just what it's all about. Now, War Cadence. This is kind of neat. Creatures can't block this turn unless their controller pays X for each blocking creature. So even if we dump minimal, like 3 men into this, we make X equals 2. Similar to the reverse Ghostly Prison, right? Or Propaganda. They can't block unless they pay 2. Well, you can kind of control. I mean, if you've got, 5 or 6 mana, dump it in there. Or maybe we're attacking somebody that's tapped out. They don't have mana, but they got a lot of creatures, so we just X equals 1. Swing, you can't block. Yeah, right? Goblin War Drums. Yes, this is one that this is an old printing from Fallen Empires. Your creatures have menace. Yeah. Now, Price of Progress is another really huge. Now, it's a one-shot hit, but what do we got? One not basic land, so we can we can do this. Idol of Oblivion. Tap draw a card if you create a token. We got a lot of ways to create a token. I didn't put it with the card draw because it's not going to be exactly. This is a slot here. This is what this is. This is another Goblin champion type thing. Stone Forge Masterwork. Now, this is a monster. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. Goblins. It's like a one-person coat of arms. Speaking of coat of arms, that's a monster as well. Move that down a little bit. And, I mean, yes, coat of arms does help the table. It helps anybody that has a lot of the same creature type. But one thing that I had to do with coat of arms is I had to, in my mind, change the fact that this is an artifact. In my mind, this is a sorcery that says, when played correctly, win the game. I'm not just going to play a coat of arms and run it out there and just let it be. Mob Justice. Sometimes that's what it takes. Just 1 damage for each creature you control. Now, I know there's a Goblin version of this too. Goblin War Strike, which is also a great card. Now, we are off to removal. We have a little bit here. Lightning Bolt, I consider to be removal in the early game. Shattering Pulse, Blasphemous Act is really, really good. Nevernal's Disc. Not only is Nevernal's Disc a board wipe, but it also chokes the hand. You know what I'm talking about, because somebody has played a Nevernal's Disc and you instantly change what you're like, well, I was going to do that, but now I'm going to. That is an added benefit of playing the disc. You get to control when it goes off, unless somebody forces it. But Smash to Dust, Shiny Impetus, Tarfire, Mog Salvage, Pyroblast, and Vandal Blast rounds out the. And that is what we've got for today. I do appreciate y'all, but right now we're going to shuffle and cut.